Greetings, viewers. This is King Echu from Southern Cameroon and Bazonia. Welcome to my platform. This is a Pan-African platform. Please like, share, and subscribe. The discussion on today is going to focus on Cameroon and President Paul Biya extending his monarchy. As you know by now, President Paul Biya is putting the plans in motion to make Frank Biya the next president, his son, the next president in Cameroon. I want to ask French Cameroonian citizens in the far north, in the Adamawa East, South, Littoral, and West region, are you okay with Frank Biya taking over as president? Because if you're okay with it, then you don't have to do anything. You don't even have to fight. You just have to welcome the idea. You just have to welcome the action that your president, who has ruled Cameroon for 38 years, to put his son in power so that he could rule for another 40, 50 years maybe, and then pass it on to his own son. So, like Gabon, like Togo, and even Chad now, where there is a monarchy going on, will the people in Chad rise up and destroy the monarchy that the former president of Chad has made by making sure that his son remains and becomes the president of Chad? Will French Cameroonians in all the 8 regions, because Southern Cameroon is not included in this, we have a war going on against French Cameroon. So we're not included with this nonsense of allowing Frank Biya becoming the next president of Cameroon. So I'm speaking to French Cameroonians. If you guys are okay with Paul Biya making his son the next president, that's fine with me. But it's not fine with Southern Cameroonians, which is why we are fighting a war. But if French Cameroonians think that it's okay, then they don't have to fight. They just have to accept what their leader, their God in French Cameroon has proclaimed. The next president of Cameroon, Frank Biya. But if you're not okay, French Cameroonians, and you want to do something about this to change, it's not by protesting. Protesting will not change anything. It's by action. Look at what is going on in Somalia. The president in Somalia could not make the decision of extending his 2-year just by himself. He needed the states inside Somalia to take part in that decision. And when the states inside Somalia refuse that decision, they raise up, because Somalia, and in the state of Somalia, or in the states, because they have states, just like we have regions, they have states. In the states inside Somalia, they rejected their 2-year extension and rules with God, because those states inside Somalia are semi-autonomous, which means that they have control over their states. If French Cameroonians are not okay with the idea that Frank Biya is going to be the next president of French Cameroon, then the people in the 8 regions of French Cameroon need to rise up and not just protest, but control their own region. The people in the far north can have their leaders in the far north control far north, because decentralization will not work. The 8 regions in French Cameroon must have a semi-autonomous control over the regions, over the 8 regions of Cameroon in order to make things work. Because the fact is this, look at the countries that have allowed monarchy to rise in Africa. Countries like Gabon, Togo, and including Chad. It's because the regions or the provinces in their respective nation do not have semi-autonomous stature. Because if they did, then they would have opposed the president and the leader. So in order for French Cameroon to have a say in what Paul Biya is doing, in making sure that his son, Frank Biya, becomes the next president of Cameroon, the regions in far north, north, Adamawa, east, south, littoral, and west must become semi-autonomous, must have control over their region and have an impact or a say in what happens in the central or or the capital, which is Yaoundé, not Douala. Douala is central. Yes, Douala is littoral. Excuse me. So littoral, where the capital is Douala, must have an impact and control that region known as littoral. The west region must control that area, that region. Each region must have power, how the government is run in the center or Yaoundé. And if they can do that, instead of sitting and waiting for what he call decentralization, decentralization is not good for French Cameroon or any French African nation. It's the fight to make sure that a governor in the far north has power to impact far north and even to impact the capital if the leader or the president is not doing what benefits the people. But then again, for some reason, France have made French Africa to be so gullible to a point where they can be ruled from one capital all around the regions, where the leader in the capital, the president, have absolute power. But in Somalia, each state in Somalia have a military and have a say in how politics is run. Because when you give people too many powers, what do? They abuse the power. President Paul Biya has been abusing his power for 38 years, going 39. How long are you going to take it, French Cameroonian citizens? Do you want Frank Biya to be the next president that will be in power for as much as 40 years? And how do you think the fate of the country known as French Cameroon would be under the leadership of Frank Biya? Yes, some people will benefit, but how would the nation look like? Look at what is happening inside Cameroon, inside French Cameroon. Does it look like it's positive with the leadership of Paul Biya to the point where he wants to make his son the president? Only in French Africa would you have such nonsense where the president pass leadership to their own son. It is happening in Gabon. It is happening in Togo. It is happening in Chad. And if the Chad people don't want this to happen, instead of trying to fight against control in the capital of Chad, fight and have control in your region, because Chad has 18 regions. So each region can break away and create a semi-autonomous control. That way, the president, or who's the former president of Chad, son, who has decided to take in power or has been given a chance to have control as the president, would not find it so easy to control the 18 regions of Chad. So each region should become semi autonomous and make it more difficult for the new president of Chad to have control over the entire nation. And that's what French Cameroonians need to do, especially the far north and north who are Muslims, because they had the presidency before in Cameroon. But look at what happened. The first president of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, cannot even be buried in his own country. His wife just passed away, and she's been asking and begging to have the husband buried in his own land. But what happened? President Paul Biya, who thinks he's God of Cameroon, refused. And now the wife of the former president of Cameroon passed away. And where was she buried in? Buried at? She was buried in the same area where the husband was buried, Senegal. And you tell him that you don't have any people who is loyal to the former president in the far north who can decide to take control over far north and north. That way, it would make it difficult for President Paul Biya, the old quack, to control. Because the reason why Biya is able to stay in power for so long is because people are just chicken-headed. People who don't want to organize. People want to make a statement. And when they try to, the military, who are well paid, go around killing people. But if the military go around killing people, and the military are people, who gives them the right to go around to kill people? And if they can kill people, why can't people pick arms and kill them? This is what needs. This is a world where men make decisions for the interests of the people. But some leaders in Africa, in Cameroon, in Chad, in Togo, in many French African countries, make decisions for their own selfish interests, not for the interests of the people of the land. Which is why people who think for the people of the land must organize, must mobilize, and galvanize the people in their perspective region to have control, absolute control in their region. And if each region in French Cameroon do that, the power that President Paul Biya have over the nation will be diminished. And people are so scared of Biya because he's been ruling for 38 years. He's been killing people. He's been sending his military gangs to kill at will. The military is there to protect the people, but they kill the people, especially French Cameroonians, especially, excuse me, especially English Cameroonians or Anglophones, because they don't see us as citizens of Cameroon. They don't treat us as citizens of Cameroon. Even the citizens of French Cameroonians don't treat English Cameroonians as citizens of Cameroon, which is why English Cameroonians, West Cameroonians, Southern Cameroonians are fighting to liberate the state of Southern Cameroon and have absolute control over that region. Regardless of who becomes the president of French Cameroon, it does not concern us as English Cameroonians or as West Cameroonians or as Southern Cameroonians. It does not concern us because we are fighting for what is rightly ours. So BF could become the president, it doesn't matter. We must become a state, regardless if it's recognized or not. And we will achieve that no matter what. But to French Cameroonians, will you allow Frank Biya to become the next president so that the Biyaism will control Cameroon for the next 40 years? So Biya has done it for 38, almost close to 40 years. Frank Biya, who's young, will come down, continue for another 40, 50 years. And you got people who are bold, can take decisions in the far north, in the north, in Adamawa, in east, and they're scared to do that. They're afraid. Wow. It looks like people from the Muslims in Cameroon are cowards. That's how it looks like it. Because your own leader who died could not be buried in his own country. Her wife passed away. She could not be buried in her country. And now President Paul Biya is going to make his son the next president. And you guys don't have the courage, the guts to stand up against such injustice. Well, it's up to French Cameroonians if they can have the guts to make that decision. But if you want to fight this thing out, you will have to make each region in Cameroon, French Cameroon in particular, semi-autonomous, just like in Somalia, where when the decision is made by the president and the people do not accept it, they rise against the president. Because the president is not God. But for some reason, in Cameroon and in French Africa, the president is God. But look at what the young president in France is doing. He's looking at his so-called hero, who is called Ben. He's looking at his so-called hero, and he's even trying to model after his hero, Bonaparte. And they're doing everything possible to control the world. But countries in French Africa that is bigger remain puppets to France and cannot do anything to influence the geopolitics of the world. It's really baffling for Africa to remain backward when other nations are rising. We are a continent of 1.3 billion people, but we're not well organized enough to impact the world. And this is because of leaders like President Paul Biya, leaders who are in Togo, Chad, French Africa, and Africa in general. They are all cowards. They can kill their own people easily, but they cannot do anything to impact the world because they are cowards and sissies. And they're not bold enough to think bigly. But will Africa change? Only the future will tell. Will Cameroon change? Only time will tell. Will Frank Biya become the next president of Cameroon? Oh, well, we shall see. But French Cameroonians must see the truth and fight against this nonsense that President Paul Biya is trying to pull. He's too old, he should get the fuck out and just die instead of trying to make his son the president of Cameroon, trying to create a monarchy in Cameroon. But the fight for liberation in southern Cameroon continue. If you like what I'm discussing, share, like, subscribe, share, comment. Till next time, this is King H. I'm out.